Welcome everybody to Wednesday Night Live episode. I have no idea. I was thinking about this today, Tim. I was like, should I go back and count them and put the episode number on there?
Well, I mean, in all honesty, yes, that would be nice to have the number up. But for the record, we're off by one because of
Yeah, that's true. That's
your
true.
own fear thing going on.
Yeah.
So we can say we're on 76, but we're really on 77.
Are you just throwing out that 76 number, or is that an
Dude, I
actual?
have to do the notes every show, so
Oh,
I put the
nice.
number at the top so I know what show we're on, even
Oh,
though
nice.
I don't actually say it. But John has, what do you call that? Like hockey players have them, superstitions. John's got his
Yeah.
own superstition, and we had to skip a number. I'm
Yeah.
sure everyone can figure out what that number is without having to say it. We had to skip that numbered show, which
Yeah.
I think in all reality, that would be a good luck thing. That's just
Yeah.
my opinion. But
Yeah.
at any rate, we skipped it on John's behalf, and so I had to keep the number consistent with the actual show. But every time I write that number, every note page, I know that it's really one more. It's really actually it's one less.
Yeah, it's one less. So why would you tell me to go and look and count them when you have the number already? You
Well, you
just
never
wanted me.
asked. You've never asked if anybody really knows. There you
See,
go, Shannon. You got it. Well,
number
it's just
13.
yeah, number 13, lucky number 13. So I'm a rock and roller. So we look at 13 differently than some Italian who breaks dishes on the
That's
ground
right.
every New Year's Eve.
That's
But
right, baby.
right, but yeah. So I always put it down because I'm trying to keep track, and it's amazing to me to know that we've done
Yeah.
75, 76 shows.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
I mean,
Anybody
that's
know where I think Paul is hiding out with Tom? So if you see those two together somewhere, let them know that we got, yeah, there's a show on. It starts every Wednesday at 6 Pacific Standard Time. So anybody sees Paul out there, tell him to get his ass over here.
yeah. I think
Uh,
he's got things going on.
yeah, he might have some stuff going on. But we're back. We got another week's show here. Tim, how
Hmm.
is Mr. Tim's week's going? You gonna do that? You do the dance?
I'm just trying to find my lighting here, man. I don't know. I
Uh,
can't. It either feels too bright or not bright enough, or I don't know. I've got enough white screens in front of me and lights on top of me. But anyway, no, I'm fine. I'm just pushing through the week like everybody else, I'm sure, is doing. Trying to get to Easter Sunday,
oh,
which won't be a big thing for me. Not in this. Not I have no family here, so there's no Easter baskets to be had. There are no children to go find hidden Easter eggs or
yeah.
anything of that nature. So
If
we'll
mom lived
just make it through.
closer, if mom lived closer, would you be getting an Easter basket?
I don't know at 53 if that's something that an 80-year-old mother would still give her child. I'm sure there'll
Yeah,
probably
there are
be
some out there that
some
still look like a
candy
cake.
involved in some shape or form, but probably not to the degree that we did it as kids, where my mom
No, I'm
would
sure she's
hide
not
the
going to
Easter
have you going
basket.
out hunting for eggs on the front lawn, but I'm just saying some mom.
No, well, those kinds of things stopped at some point. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
at some point, there's a cease and desist letter with Santa. There is a the Easter Bunny doesn't really exist.
Santa.
Just give me the damn basket. Where's the fucking chocolate? What
You
else?
don't even need to wrap the gift, mom. I know where it's coming from.
There's a huge gap. There's a huge gap in the furlough of the tooth fairy between like
Yeah, yeah,
5 or 6, and then when you're like 75, 76, then they probably
yeah,
start falling out again.
yeah, yeah.
So in the end, they just don't have this. It's just not the same. You know what I mean? But my
Anybody
mom would probably be like, "Okay, here's a Cadbury from the
Here's a
Easter
Cadbury.
Bunny."
She would, yeah. I mean, if she lived by, I'm sure she like. There's still some people that I know, like it's like an Italian thing where they still get a cake. They still get a cake. You know, they're in their 50s and 60s. You know, if your parents are still around, good for you. If you're in your 60s and they're still around kicking, and she's still making you a cake for Easter, that's pretty awesome. But yeah, now
Yeah.
there's some people that still do that, and it's kind of crazy. The Santa thing though, that made me laugh. It's just like don't even wrap the stuff anymore. So,
Well,
there's still I still have friends whose parents still wrap the stuff and write Santa on it
my
from
parents
Santa.
do too, but and as many times as we've had the heart to heart about why Santa's handwriting looks exactly like mom's and dad's, it doesn't seem to change the narrative. Do you know what
Yeah,
I mean? Nope, nope. That's Santa. That's from Santa, not from us.
yeah,
So, and that's fine.
yeah,
They want to believe their 53
yeah,
year
yeah. They
old is
want to
still
their
their
baby
5 year
boy,
old.
their
Yeah.
baby boy, and the
Hmm.
tooth fairy thing. I'm glad I don't have any kids right now because the amount of money that I'm seeing parents put under pillows for
Mm,
teeth
yeah.
these days just kind
Mm.
of freaks me out. I'm like, really, $5? You put
It's no, enough
$5
to
out?
get started in Bitcoin.
Yeah. I mean, what did you get? A quarter like me? It
I
started at a
did maybe
quarter.
50 cents,
Yeah.
25 cents,
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, it was a little something, something.
$5. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
It's like how many teeth the kid have? I start counting. I'm like, that's a pretty good take. You know what I mean?
A lot's changed. I don't know what allowances garner
Ooh.
anymore nowadays. But hey, as far as we can tell in the news, it's enough to sustain a jewel pod habit
For a week.
for a week, and they're going through two packs of pods a day,
Yeah, yeah.
8 pods. So
We
lose
need
all your teeth in 2022, and the parents are shelling out. So.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I want to be a teenager and make that kind of allowance for doing absolutely nothing. They don't even do the chores. That's the amazing part. The chores aren't done. They're just here's $25.
Yeah,
Here's
go back and go buy yourself some virtual
yeah,
Fortnite
yeah,
dollars or whatever
yeah.
they buy
Here's a
now.
Google card. Go get
Yeah,
yourself a
go
Fortnite
go
gun.
get some Fortnite cash so you can get that
Ah,
new skin so
yeah.
you can cement your future.
Yeah, and who out there still believes in Santa Claus watching the show? I'm just kidding. Tim,
There's
say hello
probably
to
they
everybody.
probably have kids. They probably have
Yeah,
kids. All right,
yeah.
so let's say hi to everybody. Shannon Brown, how are you? How are you? How are you? Nessie Vapes in the house. Jake Schweitzer, listening while working. Awesome, man. Hey, you know what? What's the saying? Are you working hard or are you hardly working?
Hardly
Either
work.
way, just pretend. Just do something. Just move your pen. It looks good. Who else? Oh, Mallory. What's up, Mallory? What is a 6.9? A
Doing
good thing
fractions
wrecked by
now?
a period. I got you. Uh-huh. Mutt, Vape Monk Rider, what's up? And we'll talk a little bit about what you two were going back and forth on, Shannon and Mutt.
Yeah.
There's that troll again, ZampleBox. I think we got everybody. I did see Luke. Luke is up there at the top. What's up, Luke? How you doing, man? Good to see you. And
Green
that's it.
thumb.
Where's all the old folks? Like didn't see Morgan. I didn't see Rog yet. I don't
Morgan
see
is doing finals. Finals. She's doing finals.
Sylvia in the house. Green
Yeah.
Thumb. What's up, Green Thumb? How you doing, man? Curtis is here. Damn, Curtis. Curtis snuck in. Curtis got in.
Damn.
He stormed the gate. He got in without a
Yeah,
ticket,
we're gonna take a
just like the
poll to
old
see
days.
how long Curtis lasts on YouTube before he gets banned.
Nah, you know what? Curtis doesn't really flirt with danger. I think most of the time it's completely unnecessary what the stuff
Yeah,
he gets
yeah,
kicked off for. So, hey man, just keep putting periods in between the first and the last name. You'll get back on.
yeah.
It's all good. It's all good. But C period, U period, R period, T
Yeah,
period, I
yeah,
period, S period.
yeah.
They'll get back in. I
Yeah,
promise you.
add the date you were born
They
to the end
can't.
of
They
your
can't
name. Just
keep up. They can't
yeah,
fucking keep up.
yeah.
You're cracked on Fortnite. Okay, Green Thumb, you're gonna have to put that into layman's English terms. What does that mean? Cracked on Fortnite. Does that mean
Um,
you're playing Fortnite and doing tons of the other thing at the same time? Oh, I don't know. I'm not. I mean, I'm a
yeah,
gamer to some degree,
yeah.
but we don't use that lingo in World of
Look at that.
Warcraft.
Look at that one. Santa's 100% real.
110, not even
Oh
100.
shit.
He's mega real. He's mega real. When you're
Yeah.
110, you're more
Ooh.
than real. Yeah, because I see him driving in his car down 85 every so often.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No, he's heading to Florida right now, right? Santa's in Florida right now,
yeah.
somewhere on a
He's
beach in
it's
the
off
UK.
season right now, so he's going down. He's going down to hang out with all the hot
Yeah, the
cougars, and then
Florida and
he'll be
what's
back
that?
up in the winter.
the Keys. What else is out now? Cuba. He's probably hitting Cuba at some point in time. During
Boca
his
Raton and the Keys
Boca Raton.
about yeah, that's about where I'd probably go. I mean, either way you slice the cake, Florida's
Well, Boca
an
Raton.
interesting state.
That's like
That's
senior
what
citizenville, though, isn't it?
no Boca Raton is like a lot of people retire down there, but I don't
Mhm.
want to say it's like super old. I mean, there seems to be some younger folk down there. You
Yeah.
know, probably in
Spring break.
their well, I don't know if I don't know is Boca Raton the party town? I thought the
Yeah.
most of the party towns are a little bit more north.
Yeah.
Come back up towards Miami, that neck of the woods. I think those are the party towns.
All right. Before we get into it, a quick question, Tim, for you.
Hmm.
Did you ever indulge in spring break? Did you
No,
ever
not
take off?
really.
No, me either. I
We
never.
did in high school. Like we kind of would sneak away after graduation, and then sometimes we would go down to Rehoboth or Bethany or something like that, or Ocean City. But it was always a tenuous time because you were still trying to
Yeah.
get parents to allow you to go, and of course they didn't like the idea of you being somewhere they couldn't keep an eye on you. And
Yeah.
then I never really did the hard body super duper college. I didn't finish college, so I wasn't at school long enough to really kind of get involved with that party crowd and do the spring break runs.
Yeah.
So no, it wasn't
I
me.
never did it. I never just said, even in my 20s, like, all right, let's spring break. Let's head to, SoCal. Let's head to LA or Mexico or Florida. Well, everybody here on the West Coast goes LA, Mexico, Cancun, those areas for spring
Yeah.
break. But I know you guys are all head towards Florida and
Well,
uh,
Carolinas and
Carolinas.
Florida, that
Yeah.
or at least out to the water that direction, Virginia Beach. But I mean, to be honest with you, I feel like I partied plenty
Yeah.
in my
Yeah.
youth
Yeah.
to
You
have
didn't miss out.
yeah, spring break wouldn't have really made all that much of an impact on my life.
Oh gosh, so I was just wanted to throw that out there. To be honest, it's weird. I have not met anybody in my circle of friends that have actually indulged in spring break in college ever. None of them.
Non-effect,
It's just not a
non-effect.
thing. Not a thing.
Nope,
I guess it's
nope.
just this newer generation. They got to let all that frustration and anger out and just get drunk and stupid on the beach.
I
Right?
suppose. I don't know.
I
The videos
suppose.
you see on the news and
You
on
sounded like
YouTube
an
don't
old
make it
man
look like
right
it's a
there.
very fun thing to do anymore. So,
Yeah, yeah,
whatever.
no, it's probably not so much anymore.
We're not
Uh,
quite sure where Paul is, Curtis.
yeah,
We are aware of the fact that he is having to get some kind of a licensing or something for his
right.
business, and so he has had to attend some classes and take some tests.
Yeah,
So school has pretty much been running his life lately. So
yeah.
that's the truth. We kind of made up the story about him being tied up in Morgan's basement with Tom.
Maybe I'll have to make a new milk carton
You know,
with
I
both
don't
of their
in
pictures.
today's polarized social climate, you don't know what the truth is and what the lie is. So
No,
you
no.
can pick whatever critical thinking path you want to take on that one.
Just read the headline. You don't have to read the article. Just read that's the new way of learning to read the news. Just read the headline. Well, guys, we're going to talk a little bit about the poll. If we could end this fight by paying a flat tax for a few dollars on any size bottle, would you do it? And I mean, you got to think about it. Tim's going to talk a little bit about I am too. I mean, one of the things that I wrote on there as well was the fact that they don't lose very many of their battles. When the Aints go after us, whether it's in California and many other states throughout the country, very seldomly do they lose a battle. So really, in a sense, there's not much that they're going to want to give up to let us have our flavors and have our bottle sizes and our vape shops all where they need to be. So I threw out a couple ideas, and the main ones that we always seem to bring up, that is the first one, of course, a statewide federal tax, a few dollars per bottle, and another one that we talk a lot about on the show is a nick cap of 25 milligrams. I honest to God, Tim, tried to think of a third one that
Well, okay, let's state the obvious one that always seems to come
yeah
up. All right, so I'll comment a little bit after that. The third one would be banning C store sales of vape devices and vape gear and things of that nature. So in that regard, the question is not posed to trigger anyone.
Right.
And we're certainly not fishing for some kind of a proposal letter that we're going to take to legislators and say we talked to 100,000 vapors, and
Yeah.
then the poll majority said if we did this, you could leave us alone. We're just wanting to know, as a pure hypothetical. Okay,
Yep.
I get it. John and I are on your team. We don't think any component of vaping should be compromised in any way, shape, or form. Okay, whether it's 50 milligram Nick for the people that need that, whether it's being able to buy your e-liquid and your vape devices in C stores, in the sense that you people who would not walk into a vape shop or would take
Right.
the chance to vape and as opposed to smoking could buy their stuff, and we're certainly. With paying a particular flat tax on
Right.
on e-liquid or something. We're just we don't need to get. We're not trying to get people to get into the deep, deep, dark weeds of what's going to happen if this, if this, then that kind of response, right? If you can see this is what's going to happen. But if the president walked up to you today and said and tapped you on the shoulder and said, "Look, I'm willing to let you have it all. Not kiss you on the neck, tap you on the shoulder. I'm willing to let you have it all right back. You can have all of your flavors. You can have your synth Nick. You can have your pod devices, open, closed, refillable, non-refillable, disposables." If he said, "I'm willing to give you all of that, if you give me this one thing,"
Yeah.
that's the way the poll should be looked at.
Yeah.
If they said, "I'll give it all to you," to have it all, you pay a small flat tax. Right, Rog. Yes, everything is taxed already, but he's
Yeah.
basically saying beyond the standard state tax of
Yeah.
4.5%, we're going to put a federal flat tax on top of that of $2 or $3 per bottle.
Right.
Would you be willing to pay that $2 to $3 to have it all? To have it all right back. That's the way the question should be posed. Not
Yeah.
really like, well, and Mallory, I read your comment and I agree. John and I agree.
Yeah.
You give them an inch, they take a mile. They're going to continue. We know that's the reality. We're just sort of fishing for an unreality answer.
Yeah.
Like if
Hypothetical.
yeah, in a perfect world, if they said,
Thank you.
we'll give it
Perfect.
all. We'll give you it all right back with no concessions other than this one little thing.
Right.
What would $2 or $3 per bottle be reasonable to you?
Yeah. I mean, we're not saying that that's going to happen or that's what we want to happen, but it's just a hypothetical. If this were to be placed on our doorstep and everyone had to vote on something like this, say $3 tax, no matter what size bottle you buy, whether it's a 60 mil bottle or 120 mil bottle, you're going to pay, a flat tax for it, which I'm sure they would write that it would be used to
To combat the teen vaping epidemic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But
to
of
fight
course, it'll be used for road tax and
Yeah.
to paint their houses and their buildings and stuff like that. But it's just kind of like I said, they don't have a reason to do this. To be honest with you, if you really think about it, they don't have a reason to do any of this. The only way this would ever come into play is if someone upstairs were to say, enough of this, because the ain'ts aren't going to go over to our senators and congressmen and our representatives and say, hey, let them pay a $4. They're never going to say that because they have no reason to say that because, like I said, there's very few battles that they actually lose
Yeah.
in the state nationwide. So they really don't have to put anything in the hat, So this would be something like Congress and the Senate would just say, you know what, we're done with this. The FDA would say, hey, you know what, pressure the congressman and your state senators, like, hey, we're just being overwhelmed by PMTAs. We're being overwhelmed by hardware having to go. We're just done with this. Let's finish this. Let's end this. Hey, there's Paul. We were worried, man. I was just going to send out the SOS.
He was messaging while we were talking. I just didn't have a chance to tell you what he said. He said he could stop by for a little while.
Yeah, good. He's going to
get I've got classes.
Yeah, no worry. We know, Paul. Yeah,
You've got classes and glasses.
You got class. You got class. All
Classes
right.
and glasses.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's not, this is nothing the Aints are going to throw on the table because they don't want to give us anything. Honestly, the only thing they're looking at is to wipe this whole industry out. That's
Right.
their goal. They don't have any
Right.
other goal than that. They're not going to give up and just say, okay, yeah, if they lower the NIC rates to 25 milligrams, we're happy. We'll walk away. It's not
Okay.
what they're looking for.
Okay. So let me reword the question another way. Okay. And so Mallory still says no on the tax. Okay. And that's fine. If the tax was unsatisfactory to you, that's cool too. All right. But look at it this way. The concession means if you don't take the concession, you lose it all. You lose it all. That we're just going to take everything away. We're just if you don't do this, we're going to take. Yeah, I mean that's tyrannical. But if you don't do this, what if they give you an incremental yes no question? They say, okay, we'll give you three options. You can have it all if you were to pay a tax, and Mallory said no. She's going to say no unless it's for use for PSA for safer use of nicotine, which I think is kind of what we said,
Yeah.
kind of what we were talking to. They would use it for campaigns to,
Yeah.
that kind of
So,
stuff. All right, so there's that. Okay, and if the majority said no to that, no, we don't want the tax unless it's for this, because you really can't have. I guess that would be a byproduct of it. All right, and
okay.
we all said no. The next one would be a NIC cap on NIC salts down to 25. Would you be willing to say if you could hold on, Paul? You didn't hear you don't hold on.
Hold
Okay,
on.
let's get to three. Let's get to three. Okay. So two being a NIC cap on NIC salts to 25 milligram. Would that be satisfactory to have it all? To have it all, you have to take a 25 milligram NIC cap on salt NIC.
Yeah.
Would that be good enough? Otherwise, if you don't take that, you don't get any of it. So Paul says no already. Paul's got a big fat no. All right. And
Well,
three.
let's throw it. Let's throw it to Paul, and because let's be honest, it's not our decision. This is a manufacturer's decision. So, as a manufacturer of e-liquid, if Australia said we'll let this all go away, we're going to tax you $3 per bottle, no matter what size. Does the manufacturer say game on?
Yeah,
You're gonna
if
get it back.
if we were allowed to have nicotine for a start, and second, no 25 milligram cap, it should be 36 milligram, which is the highest variant in any tobacco product.
Okay.
Simple as that.
All
Because the transition between high level smoking, right, 50 milligram will knock you off the gaspers very, very quickly. But if you had nicotine set at 36 milligram, DIYs that use 100 or 250. Interesting question, but that's another complete section, because DIY shouldn't be using 250 meg in any case. 100% on that one. Sorry. But if it was a 36 milligram cap, I could agree with that. But nic salt works differently to traditional free-base nicotine. So 50 milligram actually really equates to 25 milligram in freebase because of the uptake into the bloodstream.
Okay. All right. So then let's back it up again. All right. I'll give you your 36. All right. So we're trying to pose the question in the most.
Pose it to Paul as a manufacturer. Sorry, guys, but we'll kind of throw us out of the question.
Okay, that's fine.
As a
And I'll
manufacturer.
and I'll make it. I'll present it in such a way that that is consumable for a manufacturer as well as a consumer, because we have both here in the forum, right? Not everybody sitting in the chat is a manufacturer. Paul's going to look at it from a different point of view, but let's just break it down to the simplest, most form. So the way we're trying to ask the question is, a politician, a very powerful politician, comes up to you and taps you on the shoulder, right? And he's looking for a majority vote, right? And he says to you, all right, Mr. Blamire, this is how it's going to work. We're going to give you everything back. We're going to give all of it to you. We'll give you your flavors. We'll give you your nicotine. We'll give you your pod devices. We'll give you your disposables. We'll give you your nic salts, your synths, and your freebases. We'll give it all to you if you concede this thing. It's that simple. You get it all if you give us this one thing. And the first one was a flat tax on any bottle that you buy, a $2 or $3 flat tax. So you can look at it from a manufacturer's point of view. Consumers can look at it from an out-of-pocket expense. Okay,
Right.
if you don't do that, then you lose it all. We get it all. We take everything, and you gotta go black market underground, fend for yourself.
Fat zero.
Big fat zero. Okay, so then we go to level 2. I will concede, and I will go higher and say same premise, but we cap Salt Nick at 36. If you don't agree to that, we take it all. You don't get nothing. And then the last one, which I'm pretty sure Paul as a manufacturer might be willing to part ways with, is you can have it all, but no more sales in the C-store environment. No more Juuls, no more pods, no more shitty bottles of Chinese liquid in a C-store. No, and nothing. We're going to take it all. So that means all of your standard chain stores, all your C-stores, all your gas stations, all your 5 and dimes, all your cash and carries. No more C-store sales. It would only be able to be sold in specialty shops, tobacco product shops. And you can have it all back. Otherwise, if you don't want that one, then we take it all. So I'm not trying to get you to pick one, but if you had to take one of the 3, which would be your choice?
$2 tax across the board.
Yeah.
Okay.
100%, because manufacturing, you could actually include that quite easily into overall end product.
What would you say the markup would be for the consumer end? On a $3 flat tax that you're going to pay to the government for every single bottle you manufacture, what kind of payout would that be? What makes the difference? What's the difference in the consumer end? A couple bucks?
It'll be $1.50.
$1.50. So it'll be about half of what you're going to end up paying in taxes per bottle.
Yeah, but if it was a $2 tax per bottle, let's drop it down to $2 and then split that in half. You would then pass that on to the consumer. It'll be $1 flat rate to the consumer. You could live with that, because these states in the US that are going after per mil tax,
they're doing the per milliliter tax. Yeah, that's scary.
that works out a hell of a lot more if you look at it from that point.
Yeah,
and you can't control that at manufacturing.
Right. Yeah, you can't control that on your end. What we end up paying per milliliter per bottle when you're as far as reducing that cost to the consumer to make sure you're still being a viable company to stay in business.
Yeah. Well, there's one other thing that no one's put on the table, and that'd be a manufacturing standard to hold, and you couldn't go above 100 mils.
I think that's from your perspective, right? Because no one's going to get 100 mil blend nicotine in the product that they buy over the counter. For you, that just gives you more feasibility to be able to go ahead and make all of the variety blends that you would want to be able to make. It gives you more flexibility to provide more products across the board. So. Yeah, but we're just trying to simplify the whole thing. We ask this question a lot, and the majority of the time, a lot of the standard answers that come back is, and we know it's coming because we're all in the same boat, is that we really don't want to concede any of it. I mean, that's just the truth of it. It all has its place, it all serves its purpose, and it all plays a benefit in the role of tobacco harm reduction. Because everyone's different. Everybody needs a different treatment. Everyone needs a different approach. And certain things apply more to others. And then in some cases, it's a little bit more flexibility. And we know the answers that we're going to get. Like, would you cap it to 36? No, because somebody needs 50. Of course, we know that somebody needs 50. We're not saying that we don't understand where that's coming from. But we're just trying to simply just get a feel. Like if someone in an absolutely unreal world, if someone said you could have it all if you gave us that, what would you be willing to concede if that were the question? And we ask it of all of our storytellers too. Anybody who wants to tell their story.
I mean,
$2 tax.
yeah,
Simple.
I mean, there's
And be
nothing
done with it.
other. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing else that you guys, as far as the manufacturing level, can really just give up. I mean, we're not going to concede flavors. Manufacturers not going to concede flavors. We already understand that there's a push for a nick cap as far as the manufacturers as well.
I,
Is
I,
there
I just got a bunch of new flavors that I want to play with. I got
Yeah.
7 boxes sitting.
Yeah.
I've got 7
Well,
boxes
you better get
sitting
fucking busy.
Yeah, I mean, you can't think of. I mean, as far as because that's how we have to look at it, guys. I know we're the consumer, but it really comes down to what the manufacturer is willing to give up and stay viable. I mean, that's the bottom line. You don't go into business to go bankrupt. That's not the whole point of going into business. You're in it to make money, and save lives as well. I mean, there's a few manufacturers out there that's pretty much the number one goal. But as far as what the manufacturers are willing to give up, and I think a tax would be one. I don't think a limitation to bottle sizes. I mean, would that be an option as well? Where okay, there's no more.
Yeah. I would go as far. I would go as far as putting a limitation on bottle size to stop these. Well, how would we put it? The discount liquid makers that are making 250 mils and 500 mils and liter bottles, right? Yeah, I would stop that. If you put 100 mil cap
Max
on bottle size, right? You had a standardized system that you had 50 mil bottles and 100 mil bottles and be done with it, right?
Yeah.
On the 50 mil bottle, you got $1 tax. On the 100 mil bottle, you got a $2 tax. Bada bing, finished, game over.
I like Paul, bada bing. Well,
Yeah.
it's different when you start going into the Nick salts, because then now, as what we've all noticed, it eventually did change where they started going from 30s to now you can actually get a 60. I mean, there would have to be a cap there as well, because that's the one that they're all concerned about. Is the Nick salts as far as kids are concerned. So having a max size on a Nick bottle of a Nick salt at 25 milligrams or a 30 mil bottle max. I mean, that's the whole bottom line. I mean, I don't know if these are questions that manufacturers are throwing out there to representatives or not. I don't know if this is something they talk about. You think they've ever just sat down and just said, okay, here's all our cards, here's all your cards, and let's just try to figure out where we can meet in the middle and give and take a little bit here and there for both sides? I mean, you think those conversations will ever happen, or have they happened?
Look, there's been talk in the past, and there's a group on Twitter that I'm part of. Yeah, what 120 mil bottles.
You're really going to miss that 20 mils. You're really going to miss that.
Unbelievable.
Tim, you're going to miss that 20 mils, man.
Nah, just buy 2 100s.
There you go.
Bada bing. But look, we've got private chat groups on Twitter that we talk about these type situations, and manufacturers have all looked at this. Amanda Wheeler would be one to talk to.
Amanda.
Like, I'd also like to, and I'm going to push Jay Love again at Five Pawns to come on the show and talk about this.
Yeah,
and
that'd be good.
And really get into the nitty gritty of it, because a while back they switched completely to synthetic. Like, they were probably one of the industry leaders before this round gazillion of PMTAs. And they swallowed the cost of converting to synthetic into the price of their liquid.
Right.
Because of manufacturing processes and things like that. But a reasonable tax is easier than trying to implement anything else.
Right.
If you're going to, okay, for argument's sake, you have a 50 milligram Saltnik product on the market, the DIY community is still going to be able to make said product regardless if you want to lower like the nick caps. What's going on?
I'm just laughing. I'm just picturing someone holding the 500 milliliter bottle,
Oh.
trying to drip in his fucking RDA, dude.
Hang on, I'll get a liter bottle and we'll see if we can do it. But
I'm just picturing that in my mind. I can't not laugh about it.
no, I'm laughing as well. A 500 ml bottle. Yeah, okay. No,
Trying to get 2 drops out of it for your RDA.
I could just imagine it. What? Oh, and imagine if it was a 500 ml chubby gorilla, and that little spout pops out, and there you it's not a 100 ml bottle coming at you; it's 500.
Yeah, everybody remembers those days of the glass dripper bottles, and when it would fall on your desk, and you would just lose a couple mils. Can you imagine just losing a whole 120 ounces of
I'm sure some creative vape person would come up with some kind of a tube pump mechanism that would allow you to just leave it on the fucking floor, and then you could just, do a couple pumps and bip jip, and then you're good. You know what I mean?
It plugs right into your fucking RTA.
Whatever. Somebody would figure out a way to friggin' squonk the shit out of it. I mean, it wouldn't really matter. So I don't know. It's just I don't want to say it's a fun question to ask, and I don't want to say it's also a serious question to ask. It's just a question to ask. It's just to see what people's tolerances would be if we were put into a position like that, knowing that it's not a realistic proposal. But if that was the thing, and that's kind of the way I try to ask the question, if there was one thing that you'd be willing to give a pass on, just to concede to, and you get it all, what would that thing be? And I know that it becomes a squirrely question. So thank you to everybody in the chat who's answered. I wanted to talk a little bit to Peter Rex commentary. He made a comment very early on. I think he knows some people in the chat. It seemed welcome to the show, Peter. But I noticed that you seem to know some people, so that's good. You're welcome into the family here, just like everybody else. But he made some points about how he was very vehement that this vape war is not about money. And I know that that's something that we talk about quite frequently, because I think a lot of us do think that it's about money. It's about the MSA money. And I don't know where you're from, Peter. Are you from the UK? It sounds like maybe you're from the UK, or are you from the US or Australia? I don't know where you're from.
No, UK.
Okay. So I mean, I can only talk to the predicaments that we have and the way that our country is structured, in the sense that the MSA is a major player when it comes to how the government rakes in the dollars to buy the bonds to go ahead and fund their little fun projects and their anti-science to down vaping. But okay, cool. So you're in a much different position than we are in totality, right? So at least you have a country that's set forth some regulations, but they've basically said you can have it. They promote it to the point where, you can get vapes inside hospitals and things like that. And I'm not, I'm applause that your country actually has your back to some degree on that, whatever structure it comes in. But here, I think a lot of people would be inclined to believe it's about money, because that's one thing that we talk about, is how the MSA is funded from the big tobacco company. Now, we all know that big tobacco's got their hands in the vape industry to some degree, and we're not necessarily big tobacco, but we believe that it's because the federal, well, at least the local state governments are threatened by vaping, because some of them get their MSA money from the volume of sales on cigarettes. And if vaping starts to eradicate the purchasing of cigarettes, that's less money back to the states, which means that inherently they could potentially default on those bonds when they come due to pay them back, because they've usually already spent the money from the bond long before the MSA money comes rolling in. So it's kind of like that leapfrog game that they're playing. Now, to that point, I think that does play a part. And then there's the B side of it, right? And I say it all the time, is that I believe that a lot of the fight is big pharma and putting their hand into the game, because of the way our health system is structured, being a private system, that they are better off when Americans are sick and addicted constantly, which is why we're constantly filled full of drugs. That's why particular cures or treatments are ineffective or take longer periods of time, or sometimes a crapshoot. So sure, why not get rid of vaping so that you can get people back to smoking, so that they do open themselves up to be more susceptible to disease and things that require some kind of long-term care, ultimately probably resulting in your death anyway. But why not, right? So keep them sick so that the big pharma companies can still fund all their cancer research and all this other bullshit that's going on. So I agree with you on many different levels. And so I would say, at least from our country's perspective, good Lord, Darth Vader. At least from our country's perspective, I would say that I do think that there is a fair reason to believe that the vape war here, it has a lot to do with money, because I don't think the local governments are willing to just let that money go. So that's just my opinion. I don't know what John's doing.
Oh no, I dropped my mod. I dropped my mod. No. One of the reasons I brought this kind of a question up too is it's. I think it's a way for sending I'd like to send them a message that it's time to sit down and talk. And I think these are the kinds of questions that are going to be on the table for both sides, whether it's the manufacturers or our federal government. I mean, both sides know for a fact there's give and take. There's a middle ground somewhere, and it's just about taking the time to actually sit. I know there's a lot of other things going on, COVID, the war, and all this other stuff, but eventually both parties need to sit down and have this type of conversation. And I get it. It's difficult because as you know, Paul is a manufacturer. His needs may be different than anybody else's needs. So him, as far as a manufacturer, a $2 tax would kill him. And then there's the manufacturer that's, the big boy that's going to say, oh, $2, big deal. We'll find a way to get that $2 back. So to me, I think that's where we're at right now. I think that if we don't get to that point where we actually get a sit down and have one person or a group or a group of I don't know what you want to call it, that represents, like what AVA, that represents manufacturers, but having one group there speaking for everyone as far as manufacturers on what they're willing to give and take on. I think we're never going to get this. This battle is never going to end. It's never going to. We're never going to win. Honestly, I mean, look around. There's very few states where we get a win, and when we do get a win, it's very little. It's a small, tiny win for us, but we still end up losing a fraction of the stuff that is necessary for people to continue vaping in these places. So that's why I kind of threw this question out there, is because I think it needs to be talked to. People need to sit down on both sides and come up with some kind of idea. And unfortunately, we're on the shit end of it as a consumer because we don't have a voice. We don't have a voice in this when it comes to the manufacturers and the government. They're going to decide what makes either one of them happy. Am I right? It's sad, but that's where it comes down to.
Yeah, and I mean, it's probably way more complex than we ever want to imagine. You know what I'm saying? You want it to be just about people understanding this side of the argument, and we're trying to understand where they're coming from. And I think what we've all learned through a lot of this is that you pretty much can't trust government at all. They're not typically on your side, especially when you've got something at stake like this that permeates a lot of different levels, because it is about improving your health prognosis for the future. It is about being able to get people to quit a deadly habit. It is, there's concerns about children, and I think we all share in that concern, right? Nobody wants kids vaping. We didn't want this to be a thing that got to the kid level. But it did, and now what are we going to do about it, but there's data out there to support that it's not as bad as they want it to play out to be. So
Yeah.
there's always it's going to be a war of attrition when it's all said and
right.
done, right? And the thing is that, we have the lesser of the two legs to stand on, because we don't typically have the money to fight like the people who really want it to go, because it's threatening everything that they do. And Mutt, to your point as well, Shannon, if you're still here, that's what you heard today. That Sleepy Joe didn't ban vaping. He just basically signed the executive order or signed the law that allowed the FDA to take regulation over synthetic nicotine as well.
Right.
So actually, it was all inclusive.
Yeah.
Basically, they just covered all their bases and said nicotine sources of all types and kinds. So even if they come up with a friggin' nicotine is scraped off the face of a toilet, the FDA regulates it.
Yeah.
So he didn't ban vape. I guess he de facto did by saying the FDA has control over it all, and they really kind of hold the iron hammer in their hand. So if they don't approve anything, they MDO the lot, other than views and logic, then it is a de facto ban, right?
Yeah. Yeah. My camera's
So
acting up
so
today.
that's really, that was the crux of it. So Mutt, you commented to what Shannon had heard. She heard it a different way. But so the way it stands now is that manufacturers of e-liquids with synthetic nicotine, I believe, have a 60-day window or a 30-day window to submit their PMTA paperwork and get it in. I think there's a lot of people who believe that time period will get extended due to legal challenges, because it kind of got dropped on them really friggin' fast. And the FDA is already wrapped up with all the other PMTA shit that's going on. That they still are, a lot of things are under review, but they just tried to shorten the window on the synthetic nicotine products so that they could get them off the shelves as quickly as they could.
Yeah. What do you think, Paul? Is it possible that, I know you're out there in Australia? I don't know how many manufacturers actually are out here? Do you know? Does anybody have a number on that in the U.S.?
What, currently liquid manufacturers?
Yeah, liquid manufacturers. It can't be more than 200. It might be less.
No. Oh, yes, there is.
Okay.
You only have to have a look at some of the private PMTA groups on Facebook, and one of them I counted 370 manufacturers. Another one that I'm involved in, there was 400, and then you got all the big dogs that aren't part of these groups. Who is
and
it?
that's
Is
the
it,
sad part, because
is it,
those are the ones that are not going to have a voice.
is it Turning Point Solutions over in over on the East Coast? They represent a number of big dogs. You have also Molecule Labs, and this is the really interesting part, because Molecule manufactures blue, and they got denied.
They got denied. Yeah.
Well, that's something that we're going to talk about in the news tonight. But to your point there, Paul, Molecule, I don't know where that name comes from, but Phantom is the name in the United States that actually controls the blue.
Yeah, well, Fonson Ventures, but Molecule Labs. Mike Gouache, the owner of that facility, he manufactures all the blue products now out of Molecule. They were the home and the manufacturer for Cutwood, Suicide Bunny. There was a number of there was 20 or 30 liquids that they were looking after, and all the different liquid lines from those guys. So no, they were one of the biggest dogs on the West Coast. But who knows what's going to happen now? And I haven't read the news today, and that's quite horrifying. If Sleepy has handed over the reins to the FDA to, put the clamps on synthetic now.
It's sad to see blue go, to be honest with you. I mean, a lot of us, that's our starter. That was our
we need to
starter.
quantify that though first, though,
Yeah,
John.
yeah.
But I mean, I don't want people.
Yeah, they're not.
I don't think too
wrong.
many people use blue, but
No.
let's talk about it in the news and
Yeah.
not reveal too much.
I could talk about it if I want to, Tim.
No, you can talk about whatever you want. Here you go. There you go.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Through the
that's where I
microphone.
think it. I mean, to me, that's where I think it needs to go. That's the next battle, and I think if we don't get to that sit down, everything may be gone. I mean, we may just end up with just tobacco and a few flavors here and there, that they don't think are children friendly, but
You're going to have exactly what's happening here. You're going to have a black market that is completely fucking out of control.
We'll have a black market, but
But
let's
the
be
black
honest.
market is going to be massive.
Yeah, but there'll still be a good percentage of people that will try to stay away from the black market, and
I think there'll be two kinds of black market.
Yeah.
I think there'll be the completely unsafe black market for the people that don't know where to go and they just want to stay in the game and they're buying shit from people they have no idea where it's coming from. And then I think you're going to have sort of like the secret speakeasy underground black market where it's going to be people that are in the know that know where they can get their stuff, and it's going to be real clandestine, and those people will be safe because they'll have trusted partners in the chain where they can get it. And I think that but either way, it's a black market, right?
Yeah.
Whichever way you look at it, because
either way you look at it, it's a black. Eventually, somebody's going to buy the wrong thing and get sick, and then end up making the news and making the whole thing look even.
Well, then that's when the DEA, the not the DEA. Well, I guess it's the DEA and who's the arms people.
ATF.
ATF will start kicking doors in and doing these massive raids, and people will be on the ground in handcuffs and fucking. Those smoke bomb canister things going off in people's houses over some fucking strawberry. Y'all are fucking sick in the goddamn head.
We're gonna have what was the name of that? What was the name of that situation in Texas?
Which one was that?
Where they were all, where the the FBI raided it and ended up killing everybody in there. What was that? That situation?
Waco.
Waco situation.
Well, that was a religious.
Yeah, but that's where we're kind of going to.
I don't think you're going to have about 150 flat-billed bearded vapors holed up in a friggin' compound just so they can friggin' have a stack mod fucking cult. I mean, let's be realistic.
You can't have my strawberry, you motherfuckers.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying it's going to get to ludicrous levels where it will be like that. It'll be on the news because a bunch of people got sick on some shit that they didn't know where it came from because the black market is fucking blossoming, and then it's going to be an all-out drug war on vaping stuff. And then you have to sit there and ask yourself as you're watching the news, wrap your head around that for 1 minute. For a minute, we're talking about vaping. We're not talking about fentanyl.
Yeah.
where they did a drug bust on fentanyl that came across. They busted a van coming across the border.
Yeah.
There was enough fentanyl apparently on that van to kill like enough people in 5 different countries combined,
Yeah.
which will blow your mind. And we got what? Some guy who's going to get vapor's tongue because he's had too much strawberry, and they're getting thrown on the ground and fucking
Yeah.
cuffed up and zip ties. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
But here's the thing now. Even in the DIY community, the really serious DIYers out there that have not only got huge flavor collections, right?
Yeah.
That's one thing for a start. Second to that, they've got lab equipment now. They've got magnetic stirrers. They've got equipment where you can knock out liters upon liters per day of liquid.
Yeah.
You also now have people in the DIY community that now have their own clean rooms in their homes.
In their homes, yeah.
Like, come on, guys. It doesn't take much. You put together a stacked 6-bay magnetic stirrer rack, and you're running 6 liters. You can spin up 6 liters every 4 hours. That's a lot of that's 160 ml bottles every 4 hours. That's some pretty good coin, if you ask me, for the underground. The biggest problem that people are going to find is the nicotine. They want to control the nicotine.
Yeah.
It's always been the way. And Pharma now has been reading and watching the studies that our community have also helped fund into the other therapeutic benefits. What? Cartoon. Oh, jeez. But they're now finding the therapeutic benefits of nicotine for their industry. But the pharmaceutical industry can't control it.
Yeah.
They tried by creating NRTs, but guess what? They don't work.
Yeah.
It's the wrong type of system. This system is possibly the most, well, not damaging, but the most game-changing system in modern history to get people off combustibles and into a much safer alternative to consume nicotine.
Yeah.
And again, nicotine is the key to all of this. Bottom line.
Yeah, I mean, do we have this problem if we're just vaping without nicotine?
I don't know, because they're now classifying zero. They're now classifying 0 milligram in the same. They're tarring it with the same brush.
Yeah, they got it marked down as
how the fuck are you going to control this?
Yeah.
You've got 0 milligram here. You have 50 milligram in the other hand. How are you going to control this?
Yeah.
It doesn't work. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, nicotine is used in so many different medicines now. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, there was even one of the pills my dad was taking for his dementia. Says on there, yeah. Go ahead, Paul.
And now you are seeing, and this has been a study, and there was You Don't Know Nicotine, there was also a great section in there that I'm not sure of the country, but people in old people's homes that have Alzheimer's and dementia, they've been slapping nicotine patches on them. Guess what's happening? They're waking up.
Yeah.
Waking up.
Oh, ha, 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 ha.
Yeah, but don't you think that that's where the federal government can have enough power to decide when they want nicotine accessible, and then the markets where they don't want people to touch it. Seems like as long if the federal government can get their hands on the full control over how it's regulated or what's going on with it, they can go, hey, that's fine for medical purposes. Well, you go ahead and here you can have all the nicotine you want to make the patches for the Alzheimer patients if it's having a positive effect. And then we're left over here sitting going, yeah, but you took everything away from us and we were using it to combat smoking habits.
Yeah.
And
Where's our harm reduction?
And how come how come it was working for us? So why don't we get our fair share in that game? And they go, well, but you play in the sandbox on the dirty side of the sandbox because you're the side of the sandbox that allows kids to play in the sandbox with you. And therefore you're the bad guy. So we can't let you have the nicotine because you're too much of a threat. If we're dealing with just doctors and physicians and medical staff in old folks' homes who are slapping patches on some old people, their grandkids aren't running in there and stealing nick patches from the cabinet. So they're okay. They can do what they need to do to help these people who we can see nicotine as a benefit for. You, on the other hand, are just ruining the youth. You're allowing their brains to be stunted so they can't actually have a decent youth. And I would say to that, but the problem is you guys made it a thing. You made it a thing. The moment you made it a thing, made the kids go, hey, what's this thing?
Yeah, let's check it out.
So if we stop making it a thing, it quits being a thing. I mean, prior to 2016, when it really started ramping up and we kind of first started hearing about this quote unquote pandemic of children that were vaping, we never really heard too much about it. You know what I mean? We had a few little pimples on the face of vaping that we would get mad about and stuff like that. But in reality, we just never really heard too much about kids getting their hands on them and kids having them in school and kids, doing races to see who can catch the fastest buzz. And we never heard about any of that stuff. It wasn't until the antis showed up and Truth Initiative made a big, got loud, and parents who vape got loud, and then shit started showing up on TV that the kids did like what we did as kids. We were like, holy fuck, what is this crazy thing that everybody's fucking doing and they're having a fucking ball? Let's fucking do it too.
Yeah, and Pippa, you're 100% right. And we were just talking about that, and the studies now that are coming out are so promising, especially in Alzheimer's and dementia patients. And that's what they want. Yeah. And you are right. The ants did make it a thing.
Yeah.
They had a budget and they went and slapped up posters in every fucking school bathroom. Yeah. For what reason? That was the biggest advertising campaign I've ever seen.
Well, right. That's what I mean. Yeah. The appearance of being against it was actually a promotion for it, so that they could substantiate the fight against it. So they'd have a reason for people to go, you know what, you're doing the right thing. We got too many kids vaping. Now we need to end it. And so they created their own WWE ring. They made it. We didn't make it. We didn't go around telling all of the little kids in our neighborhood, like, hey, buddy, come over here, man. Try this.
Check this
friggin' out. Yeah, try this regulated mod with this friggin' sub-ohm tank on it and get hooked on vaping. We didn't do that. That wasn't we were like, hey, man, I'm not smoking anymore. That's all we cared about, is that we weren't smoking anymore, and we were happy for that success. And while all the idiots over here are like going, hey, kids, look at this poster. It says R-rated on it. Don't you want to see it? There's boobies in it. Don't you want to see some boobies? And the kids were like, fuck yeah, show me the boobies. Yeah, show me the boobies. Yeah. So that's a horrible parallel, but it's kind of like how it works.
You nailed it though. It's the truth.
Yeah.
It's the truth when you look at it. I mean, they knew what they were doing. They knew exactly they had to have that as part of their agenda if they wanted to fight this battle and do what they wanted to do to vaping. Is they had to involve the kids in some way, sort. And that's a great way of doing it. Show them something they're not allowed to have. That only piques the interest of a teenager. I got to check this out. I got to see what it's all about.
Well, right. And I think that, I mean, that's just historical, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
vaping wasn't around when we were teenagers, but when everything else was propped up to be this thing that you shouldn't have, we all want it. Look at the PMRC. They started putting rating labels on friggin' record albums and stuff for shit we weren't allowed to listen to, or
Yeah.
supposedly not allowed to listen to. And all we wanted to do was figure out how we could get our hands on that
Eminem
not
album.
Naughty by Nature. What was the band that did the Be So Horny? Who did that?
Oh, god damn it,
Uh,
Tim.
It wasn't
I'm
NW,
yeah, horny,
not
horny,
NW. I don't know. All
horny.
you hip hop fans, who was the Me So Horny band? You guys know the song.
Um,
Naughty by Nature.
No,
no, it
that was
wasn't.
down with OPP. This
Yeah,
was the
they
Yeah.
band that like all they did
Two
was have
Live
dirt.
Crew. There
Two
you
Live
go.
Crew. Thank you, Mallory. Yeah, and it's like all we wanted to do was get our hands on the Two Live Crew albums to know what they said.
Yeah,
You know, we wanted all the heavy metal albums because we wanted to play them backwards because we wanted to see if we were really going to jump off a building. That's
Yeah.
what we did. That's what
Hear the
we
devil's
had to
voice.
have it. If you said we couldn't have it, we wanted it.
Wanted it. That's the truth. That's how it always works with anything with kids. You take
Mhm.
something,
Yeah.
you put it in the top cupboard to hide it. They will try to get up to the top cupboard to see what's in there. That's what
Yep.
they're gonna do.
That is absolute fact.
Well, we used to build whatever the hell to get to the top cupboard. We used to
Right? Yeah.
stack everything up. That's how I broke my wrist when I was a kid, trying to get to the top cupboard.
Yeah.
How many of you kids? Well, some of you kids aren't old enough to remember this, but we all three here are. I mean, how many nights did we sit down in front of the TV in front of a bunch of squiggly lines just so we could see some Bow Chicka Wow Wow,
Hold the
you know,
antenna.
on
Hold it.
because cable boxes started doing the Playboy channel and Spice and all that stuff,
Yeah.
and it was scrambled, but we sure as hell when we knew it existed. We would stare at
think that was a
squiggly
nipple.
lines.
I think that was a nipple. It could have been a
And
guy's
yeah.
nipple, but it was a nipple.
It's just a fact of life, and the thing is that the kids will get tired of even if it had a natural uptick, and kids did find it interesting, right? Because it got fad or trendy, you know. Oh, USB fucking things that you can vape out of. Yep, that's exactly what it was like, Luke. Like we felt we championed the fucking squiggly line when we finally saw a boob for like half a second. But my point is that, you know, even if something became trendy or fatty like that, the kids are typically going to buy into it for a little while, and then if just once people don't find it important anymore, it falls off, and then it goes right back to standard usage and stuff like that. And I think that was kind of our thing, you know. I mean, maybe drinking went one direction for some, and
my parents never. They had a liquor cabinet. They didn't hide it from us. It was right there in the living room. It was right there in hand's reach, but it wasn't intriguing to me because it was so accessible. So to me, that wasn't a no-no. You know, even when I got older, you know, my parents were like, you know, the liquor cabinets, you know, there's always liquor down there. And I noticed the kids whose parents put it away and hid it from them or put it in the freezer trying to be sneaky. I remember those parents putting their vodka in the freezer. Those were the kids that were like, hey, my mom's got vodka in the refrigerator. Well, good for you, man. My mom's got it in the living room, you know, under a globe. Just lift the globe up and there's, you know.
Well, my parents had accessible liquor in the cabinet right within hand's reach. My dad was not one. He didn't have to go around marking bottles so he could check his levels and stuff like some kids' parents had to do. It was always right there, but I just never had an affinity for it. I tried it, and I just didn't really. It didn't do anything for me. It didn't make me. I didn't like the taste. It just wasn't something for me. So I ended up going down, other alcohol routes, but. With that said, it's the same kind of thing. Kids are going to try vaping, and they're going to be like, whoop-de-doo, big BFD. You know, I don't like the throat hit. It made me cough. I felt a little sick, whatever. And they're not going to want to do it anymore, and that's the end of it. And that's the ones that are unnamed, but other than number in those studies where they go, 18 bajillion kids tried vaping in the last 30 days. Well, how many of those 18 bajillion only tried it one time and then moved on? They didn't. It was what to do. It was like, I'm done. I'm
Why do
done.
they always throw wine coolers in their face?
Luke,
Our
why do you
generation.
got to call me out like that, bro? Why you
We are the generation of
got to
wine
point out
coolers.
my Bartles and James infatuation?
We fall
That's
right into
okay.
that.
My dirty laundry is all over the internet now. Yeah.
Yeah, we're that generation that started the wine cooler craze. Hey, Luke, it was 99 cents for a 2-liter bottle of Bartles and James, dude. That was the cheapest
Well,
alcohol
he's
you could
right too.
get for a
Yeah.
girl, because that's all they
That
wanted to drink.
Seagram's was the other one, and then of
That's
course we had to have our customary Mad Dog 2020.
Mad Dog.
And yeah, we had our Mad Dog 2020 nights, which
Yeah,
was god awful.
yeah,
Where we would have drink Mad Dog 2020 to get hammered.
yeah,
That stuff is gross.
yeah.
And
Mine
Boone's
was
Farm
yeah,
was the other one that we all got our hands
yeah.
on too.
Mine was King Cobra. King Cobra,
King
malt
Cobra.
liquor, malt liquor.
Bleh.
It was $1.05 for a 40-ounce bottle of King Cobra when I was a teenager,
Yeah,
and that was
that
40
shit.
ounce.
The
Yeah,
alcohol, the malt liquor, man, that'll
yeah.
fuck you up.
You
Anyhow,
want to talk on that one, Paul, real quick? What was he talking about there?
No,
Yeah.
I'll address this. Pippa, thank you for reminding me about this. Yes, here in Australia, Snakes and Ladders, proudly sponsored by GSK, proudly sponsored by GlaxoSmithKline and Nicorette, and they've got it actually in the advertising. It and correct me if I'm wrong, Pippa. Wasn't this to do with the Indigenous communities in Western Australia that they
Yeah.
were sending colouring in books and stuff to them? We found it. This was about 12 or 18 months ago. That was mortifying where it came, but you could actually see the advertising to get children interested in NRTs. Mind blowing.
Yeah. I don't know about you Australians, man.
well, their government's totally
Yeah.
twisted.
Yeah.
Oh, but we've got an election now coming.
Yeah, but who do you get in place of the ones you don't want?
Yeah. The Queen. You get
Do you
the
get
Queen
better
there.
ones? Do you get ones that actually are?
Queen. Freddie Mercury's dead.
Get the
So-
The
Queen
only
back.
queen. That's the only queen that I know.
Well, if you get
So-
if you adopt their laws and regulations, you wouldn't have this problem. It's in a way, it's a good thing, Paul, to have the English government or whatever you want, the Parliament or whatever they're called over there, to follow their rules and regulations as far as nicotine. You wouldn't have this problem, right? You wouldn't have prescriptions. You wouldn't. That's where I'm getting at. You know, what is Australia? You know, we threw this question to us. What are you guys? I mean, you guys have it worse than we do, but what are the manufacturers there? What are you, as far as a manufacturer, willing to give up? Is it the same thing, a tax, or because there's going to be more to what you guys are willing to give in to than what we are?
Look, we're willing to have a nicotine cap. Sure, we're also willing for it to go from a prescription only model to a Schedule 3, which then becomes consumer. Pod devices over or closed systems of anything higher than 36 milligram, sure. If it is 50 milligram, then via prescription, but allow us with open systems to be, to be able to procure whatever product we want without a prescription. I'll agree with that. We have a 10% GST. Okay. Then we also have on certain products, they'll put a sin tax on it, like cigarettes and alcohol here in this country, and imported products, which is a 33% like import tax. Sure, but come on, open discussions. We hope that whoever gets in the government this time and the health minister actually wants to sit down and talk to the industry and not read all the rubbish and all the pseudoscience that's out there. That's another problem that we've got here. I would also like to see whoever comes into government this time, I would like to see them step down as a signatory to the WHO FCTC, right? I would like to see that gone. Why the hell are we playing with that? The FCTC was on the right path when it first got put together. Now it's completely been weaponized and taken over. And we've got screenshots of PAVE having someone and Truth actually sitting there at COP9. That shouldn't be allowed either. But the industry is not allowed in there. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that does not make any sense. Well, that's the same thing when Trump had his sit down. I'm like, why are they there? They're not a manufacturer. Why were they even involved in the sit down?
Because of that certain prick.
Yeah, we know who he is.
Right?
Yeah, there was no reason for them to be there.
No.
Yeah.
How did they get a seat at the table when what are they representing? All the bullshit and the lies and the pseudoscience? Here we
yeah,
had
but I
a
mean,
report
I
from
think
Greece.
unfortunately, though, I don't know that Trump would have even have known that there was sort of a reality versus a non-reality. I mean, at that level, he's still a politician, one and the same, and he didn't know shit about it, and that's what got the sit down in the first place, was because he stepped up and he started making this broad sweep kind of like crackdown on something that he didn't know anything about, and then it got loud and he didn't like that, and he's like, well, I better friggin' at least have a sit down and at least be fair in this particular case. So I'm going to bring both sides of the argument to the table. I want to hear their side and I want to hear their side. And luckily for us, he backed off based on information he was given.
Right.
But you're right. He was also being fed a bunch of bullshit at the same time, and he had Romney in his ear the whole fucking time.
Right.
And which,
What
you know,
was-
that guy.
Mittens doing there? Why was Mittens in the room?
Yeah, exactly. He should.
Well,
he's another one that should.
He shouldn't have been, because I mean, if he quote unquote was of the conservative persuasion, then his stance on vaping should not have been what it was. And a lot of people will argue his true residency in politics. He claims to be this, but he's not. You know what I mean? And I don't know that he's exactly the other either. I think he kind of floats somewhere.
Yeah.
He's like a moderate. You know what I mean? And like he'll lean certain ways depending on what it is. And the thing is, he's got to have some agenda and some benefit that he's going to reap by voting or leaning the way that he does. And he's got, whether it was Connolly or Pave or Truth or whoever wanted to be in that room that day, the one that had the most influence was whatever side of the friggin' fence that knucklehead sat on, because he could quote unquote be far more trusted, but it belittled everything that he was about, in the sense that Trump was not particularly a fan of that guy. I think not long before that whole thing happened, they had some big blowout anyway. So, you know, I don't know what side he was trying, and that also makes me think about, you know, what are the relationships like behind closed doors. Yeah. They may make it look like they battle it out and they hate each other's guts, but I got a feeling they're hugging and dapping and fucking, you know, in cahoots 99% of the time anyway. So it's like wrestling, you know what I mean? People will go, it's fake or it's real, you know what I mean? Yeah. And you think these people are bitter enemies with each other, you know? You turn it on, and Mean Gene Okerlund is sitting there, and he's got friggin' Randy on one side, and he's got the Hulk on the other side, and they're all like, you know, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, and then they're out at the bar the next minute, and they're hugging and everything.
How are the kids? How's the family?
Right, exactly. So I mean, it's all smoke and mirrors, a lot of it.
Yeah, they're all giving each other reach arounds. We know that. So
to reach around.
Deals being made, and I'm like I said, I mean, there's got to be Romney would not have fought against it unless there was something in it for him.
For him, yeah.
Right. He would have gone the other way if he could have gained some benefit from it the other direction. But
it was, you know, brown paper bags with with mittens. We know that part.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. But
No, that's how it is. That's how it is
Yeah.
over there. And none of them do anything for no reason whatsoever. They all have agendas. They all have someone that has paid for their campaign that they owe a favor to, and there's always someone that's waiting to pay to ante up and get their favor and get something taken care of. It's just, I mean, I can't I can't think of getting into that type of industry, or we don't want to call it an industry, or that type of profession, without not owing somebody something. I can't think of any politician. I can't imagine any politician that's out there that doesn't have somebody that he's gotten a check from, that he's going to have to owe a favor someday down the road. Just like the mob. I'll take care of you today, but don't forget, one day I'll come to you and I'll ask you for a favor. Yeah.
I'd rather be in that situation
Yeah.
than have a brown paper bag put in my pocket every couple of weeks from Pave or whoever else.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's impossible to think. I mean, even like Tim's saying, even the guys that you think that they have backed this industry up for months and years, who knows? Tomorrow somebody might walk up to them and say, "Hey, you know what? Yeah, you want to have that driveway paved? You know, whatever." I'm just using the driveway as an example. Hey, he swing his way the other way, and I mean, it's happened. We're not the first industry that's been corrupted by outside sources. So,
And even if we didn't know for 5 seconds that we found out, somehow on drone camera that Mitt Romney was a secret vapor in his own home,
that would be hilarious.
he could still vote. He could still vote against us and be our bitter enemy, our bitter nemesis. And then it wouldn't matter because he's like, I don't give a shit. I'm just going to vote no on this and go against it because it doesn't matter. Nobody's going to say shit to me anyway. I can do whatever I want. I've got money, I've got power, I've got influence.
I don't know why it's Luke is a veteran viewer of the show, so I have to make him happy. He said it was creeping him out. I don't know why.
Because you had Paul next to Paul. That's why I think.
Okay. Yeah,
you had two Pauls, really. You had kind of like
throwing him off.
you had Paul and his twin. No, but I'm just saying I think most politicians would come off as being like, it doesn't fucking matter which way I go because I'm bulletproof anyway. I'm still gonna do whatever I want to do, and no one can really say anything. Even if they catch me on camera, even if they put me on TV, and I look like the biggest hypocrite in the world, I'm just going to justify it somehow, some way anyway, and I'm still going to go ahead and do it, and there's not much they can do, Unless, what are you going to do, impeach me over a vape?
Cuomo thought he was that guy for a while.
Well, I'm saying sometimes it eventually catches up to them. But you saw stuff all through the COVID pandemic with certain politicians breaking protocols and do as I say, not as I do, kind of thing. No, well, you can go that way. Whatever, it works. I'm just saying, I don't think politicians stand much to lose by voting one way or another. Because they still have the ability to do what they want to do anyway. They can sit there and go, "Oh, I'm going to vote for the Green New Deal," and then still fly around in their big old jet. Their fuel burning jets. So it's all a bunch of BS. I think everybody understands that.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. I mean, there you go. Oh man, Tom. Yeah, Tom. Hopefully, Tom will come back. You want me to get rid of Tom? Here you go. How's that?
We'll just go green.
We'll go green. Go green.
We'll go green. Can we talk about something else?
Yeah, you ready to go into the news?
In a few minutes. I just want to talk about this one thing because I'm just curious what other people. 7 minutes. Okay, what other people do. So I happen to have this person that is a friend on my Facebook page. I don't really know this person hardly at all. I may have been in the same area with this person at least maybe one time, but I just don't know them. And I happened to be on their page the other day, and they posted this share from an article of one of those people that ended up in the hospital over vaping, and apparently, her lungs were bleeding, and they put her on a ventilator, and all this and all that, and she slowly recovered. And I looked, and I read the whole article, and it was the same yah that we see every time, And then I looked, and I could see that the article, or the story anyway, was from 2019. So it definitely happened around the time that the Valley stuff was present. I read a lot of the commentary. Obviously, the commentary that was allowed was very selective. The people that were commenting were like, oh, you're doing the right thing by sharing this, so everybody knows what to watch out for. This post had 30,000 shares. It was a public post, 30,000 shares. This woman, was supposedly went to a 7-Eleven and bought a vape, and then she got deathly ill on it. And so my question is not about that we understand really what happened with all of that, but there are still people that read these stories and decide to share them and say, like, hey, be careful what you're doing. And then they kind of get other people to jump on the bandwagon, like, oh, I used to get sick every time I vaped it. One guy piped in, I killed my sister on this person's share. And I'm like, so my question is to the group and to the panel and to the people in chat. Do you see it worth the time and the effort to go over to that person's page and then get involved in that conversation? Or do you sit there and go, you know what? I'm just going to get friggin' gang raped over there. If I jump in and say to this person, or come back with a counter response, like, you know what, this is a lot of BS. I've been vaping for 10 years and I've never had bleeding lungs and been on ventilators and had all the, I've touched pod device. I've done all that stuff. You maybe need to look at your source a little bit closer to try to determine exactly what was going on here. I can give you some information, but do you find it worthy enough to fight those ground level battles with just the rando on Facebook that is obviously not a vapor, someone who's not a smoker? They're someone who is athletic. They're never going to pick up a vape. Right. So they have no skin in that fight, but they're sharing this article thinking they're doing good by sharing something. And then right behind that, she posted another post of this vape store that had a label on the shelf that said, as of this particular date, Biden has given control to the FDA to regulate all synthetic nicotine. We can no longer buy these products after this certain date. This is nationwide or whatever, stock up now. And then her comment to that post is that she said, this is about the only thing good I've seen this guy do. So she obviously is not a Biden supporter, but she supports the idea of synthetic nicotine being passed over to the FDA for regulation. So do you find value in fighting that particular fight, like going over and trying to educate that person to think differently? Because I just feel like I've tried it before, and those people are they're already stand pat in their opinion on that one particular thing. Like, oh, you don't know anything, Yeah.
No,
what do you guys do?
I always respond to those, and what I do is I put my answer in there, I put some research in there, and then I shut off notifications. Because I don't want to have that back and forth. I'm going to leave the information that they need to go, and just in the hopes that someone that's in that thread will take the time to click a link and get better informed. But I always shut off notifications.
So you never know what they say back to you.
Right. But I'm going to make sure I leave some information on there that's going to maybe help. If there's 1,000 people in there, I'd be glad if 20 people click on it. At least 20 people now know the truth. So but I don't want, I'm like you, I don't want the back and forth. So I just go up to the top.
Because I felt like posting the CDC website, or the CDC website information about EVALI, because that was part of the terminology that was used in that post. And I just felt like going over there and just dropping that link and then just walking away and being like, you can go ahead and read this. Basically, they said everybody, pretty much 98% of the people that were impacted by that particular thing.
Right. And that's an easy one to fight, because you have all that information, and from credible sources, the CDC and the FDA finally admitting their fault. Yeah. So that's basically the only article that I would post on there, is the one from the CDC and the one from the FDA, and then go up to the top, click on those 3 little dots, and shut off notifications. This way you're not having that you're stupid fucking idiot, and then you get banned from Facebook.
Right. No, Professor
Yeah.
Milky, I mean, I
Yeah.
just, I felt like I get so mad.
Yeah.
Like I see those and I just get so fucking frustrated because it just becomes sort of a bandwagon for the people who already have a negative train of thought about vaping in general.
Yeah.
I felt really bad on the one that she shared about the whole thing about the synthetic nicotine and how all these products were going to get pulled from the shelf. And this one person chimed in and said, "Really? Damn. Oh, well, I guess it's back to the cigs then."
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, no, this
Yeah.
you didn't see this person's post. This is
You-
my
you
friend, not
posted it.
your friend.
No, I saw it after you posted it.
I didn't post that one.
Somebody posted that article.
I didn't. Wasn't me.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that post.
No, this
I've seen that
this was a
comment.
comment in response
our
to the
chat?
person, huh?
It was in our chat.
But that was the post about the girl who fell ill. This was the separate post about the picture of the vape shelf with all the vape products on it and the sign that said Biden had given regulation of synthetic nicotine to the FDA. And the person went on that particular share post and said, well, damn, I get back to the cigs again, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I was like, I felt bad for that person. And I'm like, part of me was like, well, let me go target that person and pull them into a DM and go, fuck all that shit. You want to know where to go? I'm going to tell you where to go, and I'm going to tell you not to friggin' think that that's your only out. Because I got a feeling they're the type of person that all they do is walk into a fucking C-store and buy a disposable. They don't know anything about the greater conglomerate of vaping.
See, I can go right to. Oh, let me shut off this. Yeah, I can go right.
Pull
to
it up. Okay, but that's not the article I'm talking about.
Right. Yeah.
I'm talking. There's that one, right? That's the lady that said her friend was deathly ill, and she watched her best friend recover after supposedly buying a vape at a 7-Eleven. That's a 2-year-old story from 2019.
Yeah.
And I went digging on the girl, the sick girl, right there. They're the girl sitting in the bed, right? The one with the gown on. I went to her page because I wanted to see if I could see. Because somebody did ask in the comments if are you sure she didn't get sick off of a THC cart? I only saw one of those. And the girl was like, no, that's why I posted the story. So I went to the sick friends page, and I went through her photos, and there was a picture of her supposedly when she had just turned 21 in Canada on a hookah thing, and she's got her mouth on the thing, she's puffing on it, and she goes, me in Ontario with a hookah, tobacco only. And then a bunch of people are like, are you sure that was only tobacco in there? And that just led me to believe that, you know what, this girl is probably a stoner on the side. And I wanted some proof and to go, see, she smokes dope.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you want to smoke dope, that's great, but don't buy the fucking black market THC carts. That's why she was in that hospital bed.
I'm proud of looking through this. I'm proud of the people that were on there defending the industry. And one of them right there says, holy crap, it's been shared 55.4 thousand times. Incredible. Fuck.
Yeah, I mean, it was just amazing how many times that dumb story got shared and reposted. And it's the same thing. It's like you see him every now and again where that post comes back where it's like, don't give your dogs this fucking biscuit because it'll make their fucking lungs bleed out and they'll choke to death. And it's like, it's already been debunked. It's already been, proven that it's not true. And I'm like, why do you people fall for this dumb stuff? You guys are just so dumb.
Well, from the time that lady wrote that, which was a year ago, it is
she
now
wrote it in 2019.
No, one of the ladies that commented in the thread from a year ago. Now that thread's already been shared. This specific thread, this one alone, has been shared 99,000 times.
We debunked that person's story. Not long after it came out, and I can remember writing something on there when it first came out because we figured out that she was in the weed and stuff like that, but we weren't 100% sure until we could actually find
I mean, you can comment on it, guys, and then just go up to those three dots, and then just turn off notifications to this post, and you won't, this way you don't get bothered with it, but at least you put that information out there to debunk it, and then just walk away, because I'm like Tim. I don't want the back and forth. I don't want to argue with someone that has no knowledge of what we're doing, doesn't have any knowledge of nicotine, doesn't have any knowledge of vaping whatsoever. It's just there because, oh my God, I saw my grandson with a vape and now he's going to die. And I'm like, okay, whatever.
Well, right. And that's the kind of stuff that was going on in my friend's responses. And she's like, yeah, we had to take my son to the hospital because he had something in his throat and they put their kid on ambulance. And I just want to be like, how do you know what your kid friggin' did?
Yep.
I don't know anybody that's gotten like ulcer burns on the back of their throat from a jewel. Like, no, call me naive, but no, I've been in 100 different vape groups and never heard anybody go, you know what, I was at the doctor today because I'm getting ulcers on the back of my throat from vaping. Never heard one person say it. Not
Only
one.
complaint we see is vapor tongue, and we know how to challenge that one.
Right. And so what I'm saying is it's like these people are naive because what kid is going to openly admit to their parents that they were vaping some shit they shouldn't have? And let's say it was a knockoff Juul pod or generic or something, because that's what the kids were doing. They were buying the friggin' universal knockoff pods and filling them with whatever.
Yep.
Who knows what they were putting in that shit? So then they just think it's a Juul. They got it. Here's my Juul. I got it from the store because we want to rat out Johnny.
I got it. Hey, why is always got to be Johnny? Every time everybody gets in trouble,
because it's just such a troublemaker name. That's such a troublemaker name.
I know, but it's
there was a
like
song. There was a song written about Johnnies.
Yeah,
Johnny come lately. There's a new kid in town.
Now that one wasn't as bad as the one that came out in the '80s.
Which was
Johnny
Be Good?
No, not Johnny Be Good. It was in the movie Valley Girl. Johnny's a queer. Remember that song?
No, I don't remember that one. Only Valley Girl joke I know is why did the Valley Girl take 2 pills?
I don't know why.
Because she wanted to be for sure.
For sure. But wait, Tim, you get it. You get. Do I have the drums on here? Yeah, there it is.
Here's Johnny.
Tim, are you ready for the news?
Let's do it. And slated. All right, we're gonna do some news, kids. Who's ready for some tappity tap toilet paper tapping? So it's not toilet paper; it's actually really printer paper.
Yeah, toilet paper too expensive.
Yeah, but we had a couple articles for you. One that we kind of touched on a tiny bit, but they both kind of make sense. We're gonna talk about some international vape news, and we're going to talk about, I guess, some international vape, some global vape news, right? So the first one that we're going to touch on today is out of Finland, right? So let me share my screen here real quick here. Make sure I got them in a line here. So let me share it up for you kids. Share. Okay, and let me make it bigger. We like bigger. Okay. All right, so Finland is cracking down, kids. All right, so probably not surprising, but I mean, this just kind of goes to show this is sort of a global fight, right? We're not the only country that's under fire. You've got a lot of Scandinavian countries that really don't have a whole ton of regulation or even support groups to fight against this sort of stuff. But Finland has now been sort of substantiating their Tobacco Act control bill. They actually already had one, but they've since then tried to substantiate it even further. So let's go over the details of exactly what they're going to do, and then we can talk about for a moment if you think these are things that we see coming down the pike for us as far as regulations that might come in to play, right? Because Finland's a little bit more beyond where we are at this point. So on April 13th of this year, the Tobacco Act was tightened up in Finland. And then what they're going to do with these amendments, the first biggest thing is all brand images and logos will be removed from the unit packets of tobacco products, electronic cigarettes, and refill containers. And the reason they want to do this is because they think if they make it absolutely nondescript, it'll no longer have some level of appeal to the younger people, the youth, who, for the life of me, I can't believe that the fact that you have a name brand or a logo on it or some kind of artwork of some kind is the sole reason that any particular child would be primarily interested in a particular product. So they're gonna take all branding, all logos off of everything that's tobacco related. Basically, the government proposed these amendments, and the president of the republic has already approved them. So as of May 1st this year, all the amendments will enter the enforcement period. So that means after May 1st, 2022, no more products that are brought to market off the assembly line and or otherwise or imported into the country will be permitted to have any branding or logos on them. I'm not really quite sure how that's going to work. They're going to have some kind of indicator or signage on them in order for someone who's going to buy that product to know what they're getting, right? I know that in Australia, they put like all the cigarettes and stuff behind these nondescript white cases, or they have to remain completely out of sight, not in any sort of plain view perspective. So like, you know, you're going to be able to get cigarettes when you walk into a place and you see these weird plywood, white painted cabinets hanging on the wall with locks on them. That usually means the cigarettes are behind them. Although when they open it, the cigarettes have all the imagery and everything on them that you would normally get used to, like with the gnarly pictures of somebody's lungs or someone's uterus falling out or something like that. The only exception to the regulation for now will be on the uniform packaging, which will not go into enforcement until May 1st, 2023. So that just means that they're going to go ahead. Yes, exactly, Peter. So that what that means is that they have not set the standard or the guideline on exactly what the branding or the imaging will look like on the packaging. So they're going to give them an additional year to go ahead and determine that, because they just have not decided what that needs to be or what it's going to be. So they're basically just going to put out like a bulletin or something like that to all the manufacturers to state, here are the parameters and the standards and the guidelines by which you can fall into. And as of May 1st, 2023, all of your packaging has to comply with that at that time. So apparently Finland had prohibited the characterizing flavors and aromas of cigarettes. That just basically means a flavor ban on cigarettes, roll your own tobacco, and e-liquid back in 2016. So since 2016, they've been on an all-out flavor ban. They can't even get those products since 2016, when their overall reform of the Tobacco Act went into effect. Now the prohibition has also been extended to also cover products that consumers can use to alter the flavors, such as these things. I've never seen one. I think we did show one on the show a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was last week. But they have, apparently in Finland, they got these things called flavor cards. So apparently you can get these cards that probably transfer flavor to the cigarettes, and you can stick them inside the cigarette packs, and I guess they touch the cigarettes and then they absorb the liquid or whatever's on the card into the cigarette. You know, maybe it's a menthol or a mint or something like that, and then when they smoke the cigarette, they can go ahead and get the flavoring off of it. So they're going to
Camel Crush.
Well, those are the little beads that you can pop in the filters. These aren't. I don't think that's what they would call the flavor cards. Flavor cards are these things, I guess, that are like the size of the inside of the pack, and you can slide them in between the cigarettes. Because in a lot of foreign countries, John, they have 40 packs, not just 20 packs.
Right.
So when you go to the store, you can get the 40s, and then it's like a big old thick honking box of cigarettes.
Yeah.
I'm imagining you probably need a couple of those cards in order to get the flavor onto as many of the cigarettes as possible. And then I imagine, to your point, John, that they would also ban the little flavor beads that you can shove in the butt of the cigarette. So they're going to ban those as well.
Okay. Talking about flavor cards, they also use them in roll your own tobacco. Throw it in your pouch and it flavors the pouch.
Okay. Right. So that kind of stuff is going to be taken away from them. That prohibition will enter into force on May 1st, 2022, where no products can enter into the market at that point that fall outside of those parameters. It will be permitted to sell products already in shops and warehouses up until the 30th of April, 2023. So anything that's already in circulation or sitting on the shelves at stores or in warehouses can be sold as such for the time being until those are gone, and then the resupply will be all of the since prohibited or heavily regulated products. On top of all of that, they're also going to ban smoking on playgrounds and public beaches. So no more vaping, no more smoking on public beaches. That's sort of been happening in certain towns and cities in America ad hoc. They're passing them independently. So that one doesn't come as a big surprise to me. Manufacturing and importing companies that are included in the Tobacco Act will be required. This is on top of that too. Will be required to pay the National Supervisory Authority for Welfare and Health an annual supervision fee based on the sales volumes of those products. So kind of like their own little MSA, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, but that's going to come from the independent manufacturer, like across the board. If you're manufacturing, making, or providing or distributing anything tobacco related, you're going to be required, based on those sales, to basically pay up to the government in Finland. Now, they have a public healthcare system in Finland. I probably would imagine a little bit more like Sweden or the Netherlands or something like that, where everybody kind of pays into the pot, and then if you need treatment or whatever, certain levels of treatment, you can go and get that for free. But at any rate, so that's what's going on in Finland. My takeaways were more crackdowns coming in other foreign companies. How do you feel about the removal of branding and imaging on tobacco products? Do you think this will cause the appeal of tobacco products for the youth to go away? So imagine for a minute you went to the vape shop and we can no longer sort of like clearly identify Naked 100 from Jam Monster, from whatever Twist. They all have basically this white box with just the company name on it or something like that. Do you think that in and of itself would lessen the appeal of vaping to the kids? Yes or no? No. If they want it, they're still going to. The fact that you are getting rid of it and making it even more of a taboo by getting rid of the labeling and the stuff like that, I think you're making it a thing again.
Yeah, you're making it easier for the kids to hide too, because now it's just in a plain fucking bottle. Parents are going to look twice.
And that could very well be true. I mean, a lot of parents don't have time to invest in their kids nowadays anyway. They're both working 2 jobs, and they're gone half the day, and the kids are left to their own devices. So there's that. So Finland's got some shit going on. All right, so let's move along. This is the other one. This is the big one that we were talking about on the show about blue going away. It's going to suck that blue's going away. So everybody knows that most of the big companies, as well as all of the other companies, have submitted PMTAs over a year ago. Now the synthetic nicotine companies are going to have to submit their PMTAs because that nicotine is regulated under the FDA. But the My Blue product line of pod systems, the pod devices, have been issued an MDO, or a market denial order, basically stating that the FDA was not satisfied with their PMTA submission, and that means that these products have to immediately come off the shelf because they're no longer allowed to be sold by virtue of this MDO. Now, there's a lot of information around this particular MDO. It kind of comes as a twofold sort of ramification. So we can probably talk about that a little bit. Is a little contradictory because My Blue isn't just these particular devices. A lot of us, John and myself in particular, started with Blue. That was our very first device to try to get into vaping, or at least attempt to quit smoking with vaping. And those are the Cigalikes. So what this MDO specifically addresses is the pod style refillable pod devices that they have out, which is the My Blue line of products, not the blue e-cigarette Cigalike styles. So there's a difference in those two different types of products. So the FDA, and what makes this even more unique is that this is the first major brand of vaping products to get an MDO. All the MDOs up until this point have been all the smaller, lower hanging fruit, small companies, that don't have the big money behind them, because Blue is actually supported by big tobacco effectively. The MDO is for so the MDO, excuse me, not only covers the device itself, but as well as several of its flavors and refill pods. My Blue is a product made and sold by Phantom US, the vape product arm of Imperial Brands, formerly known as Imperial Tobacco. So they are partially owned by Big Tobacco, or Tobacco owns them, and Imperial does more than just that. So that company alone has been valued at about $20 billion. That's a massive company. That's a huge, huge company at $20 billion. This denial is significant because the FDA is still reviewing PMTAs submitted by other large companies such as Juul. We know that one's still in play, as well as British American Tobacco's Vuse Alto, and also Enjoy's Ace. So when I think they're talking about that, they're talking specifically about those particular companies' pod type devices, right? So things like the Juul, whether it's refillable or whether it's replaceable pods or refillable pods, they are that type of device, not the Ciga-like style. These devices make up the majority of the convenience store and gas station segment of the vaping market. So that's what people are buying. Now, I don't know that they had a picture of it in here. I think I saw it on another page. You can Google it or look it up, but it kind of looks a little bit more like the old A-base style. It was kind of short and squat and rectangular in the battery compartment, and not like a Juul. Shorter than a Juul, a little bit more streamlined and torpedo-like. So My Blue's denial order could mark the precedent that the FDA will reject the other ones as well, primarily because their nicotine delivery is more effective than the older. Now, these are the two that got MGOs, or market grant orders, was the Vuse Solo, and I don't know what the Logic product is called. They just said Logic in the article, but they're both Ciga-like type products. So the old school shit that had the little screw-on friggin' Cardos, and then the end lights up and stuff like that. So effectively, the ones that didn't really work for any of us. They didn't give us the satisfaction or the delivery that we were necessarily looking for. And remember my picture? I think when we looked at my picture, I think most of them were either 12, 18, or 24. Depending on, that was like the max on any of those, right? So they never really offered a smoking-like experience in order to be enough for me to transition off of them, which is why Blues didn't work for me. All right, so I wanted to read a couple little paragraphs right under Paul Blair's comment. Note the defense of the denials here. Based on the information provided in the application submitted by the Phantom US LLC for these My Blue products and the available evidence, the applications lack sufficient evidence regarding design features, manufacturing, and stability. So that they MDO'd them on that part, but they also MDO'd them on the final part, right? So let's read this. The rationale for the denials, the FDA said in a press release, included Phantom's My Blue applications lacking sufficient evidence regarding design features, manufacturing, and stability. No one can be certain what that means without seeing the actual denial orders, but it could involve almost anything related to the performance or physical structure of the device, pods, or e-liquid. Additionally, said the FDA, that here's the other dagger. The applications did not demonstrate that the potential benefit to smokers who switch completely or significantly reduce their cigarette use would outweigh the risk to youth. That's the blanket statement that almost everybody got on their initial MDOs. That refers to the authorization standard announced by the FDA in August 2021, almost a year after the September 2020 PMTA submission deadline. So they got kind of hammered on a couple different fronts, which was interesting to say the least. I think it was a little contradictory in that regard, just because other things from those same companies had been permitted to MGOs. So these are the things that were MDO'd. So it's the My Blue device kit, and then here's the flavors: the Tobacco Chill 2.5, Intense Tobacco 4.0. Intense Tobacco 2.4, which is interesting to me. I guess these have ice in them or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Intense Tobacco 3.6, and then the two gold leaf versions, which were 1.2 and 2.4. Now, take into note here that these are tobacco flavors.
Yep.
These are, I mean, flavor, sure, everything's a flavor, but these are specifically tobacco flavors, not cherry, not vanilla, not mango, not cotton candy, not anything like that. I think it should also be noted that they also got MDOs on several pod refill flavors that were not listed. That were not in their current distribution list. They were ones that were in development that they were getting ready to try to bring out. They submitted PMTAs for them, but they were immediately denied. So I don't know if those were also tobacco flavors or if they were actual flavors like fruits or berries or desserts or whatever. They said the reason why they didn't mention them in the MDO was because they were currently under development. They were not ones that were released to the market currently, so they were non-effect. Greg Connolly piped in, but he felt that this was rather ominous because a big manufacturer basically got shot down. So if they're going to get shot down, they had money to put behind everything.
Right.
That could mean the curtains for some of these other products that are out there. Now, with that said, I think it should be important to note that Fontum is going to fight this. They're not just going to take it laying down. You can most certainly expect them to file a lawsuit against the FDA to either get their PMTA reinstated if they need to update the information in the PMTA if that's enough, or if they can find some gaping hole in their case to say why they got MDO'd. Also, apparently a bunch of other distributors and manufacturers submitted what they called appeals. It's called an administrative appeal, which apparently I guess that resulted in some of the stays being issued for other companies that had received MDOs as well. So I don't think this is the last you will see the My Blues on the shelf. If they can get a lawsuit in there or an administrative appeal, they could get a stay on their MDO, and therefore you would still see those products on the shelf for sale. I have never actually bought one of these. I imagine I don't go to gas stations and buy vape devices. I don't really travel that much anymore, so there's no reason for me to wander into a convenience store and buy one of these. Whatever I need, I can take with me as I go. But I think this is important to note. It's something to pay attention to. It's something that could potentially make you nervous or scare you, or you make the decision to advocate even harder, because now you're seeing things that maybe your mom or your dad or your grandmother or your cousin or your uncle or your buddy who doesn't know what he's doing, but you're like, hey man, just go down to the gas station and get you one of them My Blue pod device things. That's really all you need to get started. You know, these products are now threatened, and these are tobacco flavors. These are not the fruity ones, or the ones that we're kind of used to. So obviously court will play a part in this, but it's important to pay attention to. This is a big one. So yeah, it's kind of disappointing to see My Blue get attacked like that.
That is a big one, and it's a good point. I mean, this is a company that probably put a lot of money into their PMTAs and all that other stuff. That they weren't messing around. They made sure. I'm sure they had a hefty law bill too, lawyer's bill. I'm sure.
Of course they did. I guarantee you that they did. But that's just concerning to me because it's tobacco as well.
Yeah.
All right. So with that said, we can't really do much from our perspective to help Finland, but we can fight here in America. So I thought for the advocacy portion today, we would talk about CASA, not Dr. Colin, he's in there too. But we always talk about these calls to action, and I typically bring them up every week on a different state or a different area. But I thought that CASA did a really nice job today about putting them all into one sort of consolidated article. So I wanted to just quickly go down the list as far as states and areas that are having legislation passed or flavor bans coming across the table, and people in those particular states probably still have the ability to stand up and fight or voice their opinion in opposition to these particular laws and bills that are making their way through their House and Senate. So let's talk about real quick the call to action in Colorado. So after imposing a 30% tax on low-risk vapor products set to rise to 62% by 2027, a ballooning tax to help fund universal child care, lawmakers are now irrationally trying to ban the vast majority of the products they wanted to tax. So taxation wasn't enough for them.
Ooh.
Now they still want to ban it. So they don't want the money, they just want it gone. So that should be reason for concern. So if you're interested in the Colorado one, you have friends in Colorado or you live there, head over to Casaz. Well, go ahead, John.
Weren't they just didn't they just lose a battle there in Colorado a few weeks ago, right? In one of the cities there.
I'm not
remember that
sure
was the
about
big-
this.
yeah,
This is Colorado in general. This is House Bill 22-1064.
The whole state.
Would ban the sale of flavored nicotine and tobacco products in Colorado.
See, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough for them. Yeah, because it was a city. I think it was a city. It was a couple of weeks ago. I remember seeing it on Lindsay's page and and Amanda's page as well. And it got canned. So now they're going to go after the whole state, huh?
Right. All right. So there's that, right? So if Colorado, if you want to stand up and fight, head over to Casaz's website into the articles section. You can quickly, or go to your state. Just go to Colorado. I'm sure you will see this on that page. Maine, I think we did talk about that a few weeks back. The flavor ban ordinance is likely to be scheduled for consideration. Possible vote at the next regular council meeting on Monday, April 18th. Tell your city lawmakers why you think this is a horrible idea. This is Brunswick, Maine. I've only been to Booth Bay Harbor, so that's the only place I know about in Maine that I've ever been. So again, all of these are nicely packaged for you. They've had the public hearing. They've introduced the bill. You're still encouraged to send, look, Monday, April 18th, 2022. So that's in 5 days, 6:30 p.m. in person or via Zoom. You can jump in and maybe play a part in that. Otherwise, in the meantime, you can send these letters off. You can sign up and at least try to proposition your representative, who they will find for you after you populate this information. And you can send these off. So that is Brunswick, Maine. They're under fire with a flavor ban. Rhode Island, we talked about them, House Bill 7871. They had a public hearing on Tuesday, April 5th. Health and Human Services Committee. At the beginning of the hearing, Chairman stated that all bills would be held for further study. This legislation is expected to be heard in the Senate committee sometime soon. These are the times when you can fight really, 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 really hard, because if everything's going to be put on hold, that's when you get louder, right? These 11th hour fights might be a little tough, but these ones where they pause things, that's when you can really throw your voice to these people's ears. So that one's in Rhode Island. Again, you can go in same structure for all of these. Nothing has passed the House or the Senate.
Right.
And they're saying these bills are still active and can be called up at any time during the remainder of the 2022 legislative session, which ends on June 30th. So we're still a couple months away from all of that. But again, fight now, fight hard. If you care and you're in that area, or people in that area, get your voice heard. And then lastly, the one that we talked about last week was Hawaii. We know that they had one. They held a public decision-making and a vote on HB 1570, a flavor ban, and ultimately passed the bill. Tell your senators, this has to go to the Senate now. I think it tells you the status. HB 1570 needs to be passed in the conference committee and then eventually signed by the governor. So speak up, say something. I bought lots of products from e-ciggity down there in Hawaii. So here's your fights. They're all laid out for you right here in plain English. All four very neatly consolidated. Whichever one you want, you can go ahead and jump in on the fight. Well, but that said, I think it's important. I think it's important to speak up wherever and whenever you can. But with that said, that is your news for the day for this show. Tappity tap tap
Tap.
tap. Back to you, John, in the studio.
Yes, and also, like Tim is saying, please, guys, open those emails. If you got an email from CASA in your email, open it, guys. Don't just click garbage can and send it to the garbage can. Open the damn thing. There's a reason it was sent to you. Check it out. See what it's all about. And they know. I wasn't aware of it until we were told, but they know how many people open their emails. So. And then the number's very low, guys. The number is very, very low on the people that are opening emails from CASA. So if you got one in your I don't know what you call it, in your inbox, right? In your inbox, take the time to click it, open it, see what it's all about. There's a reason why you got it. It's a call to action in your area, or it's a call to action federal. So open those guys up. Anything else you guys got to throw out there before we hippity hoppity hop out of here?
I talked myself out.
You talked yourself out tonight,
Yeah.
and my camera is being a real bitch tonight.
That means John's going to buy another $8 billion camera that's better than this one.
I need to, like I always tell you, and I for some reason haven't done it for a couple days, but I need to get over there and take that cloth and clean that lens off because it's got some
residue,
some vapor shit on there,
some residue,
some residue on that lens. And you think that I would take better care of that very, very, very expensive lens.
Yeah.
Oh, all right, guys. We will see everybody next Wednesday. And same channel, same place. If you haven't joined CASA, get on over there. Join CASA. It's right down there on the bottom on the ticka. Get over there and join CASA and do anything you can to save this industry, guys.
Happy Easter to you, Luke.
That is right. Will we have a show before Easter? No.
This is the show before Easter.
Yeah, this is the show. That's what I was going to say. Yeah, we won't. So, yeah, happy Easter to anybody out there that celebrates Easter. That's it. Anything else, boys? Goodbyes? Byes?
Rock on.
Rock on. Rock on. Rock hard. Whatever.
Yep. All that good shit.
Yeah. Peace out.
Good night, all. Peace.